I didn't even know this was possible until now. You've been waiting months for this. Adobe finally just dropped 5 brand new features in Photoshop version 27.3 that are going to completely change the way you work. Some of these were hiding in the beta version, but now they're officially here in the stable release. And honestly, one of them blew my mind so much I had to pause and just stare at my screen. If you've been struggling with adding texture to your images, fixing hazy photos, or removing objects without leaving a trace, this is about to become your new superpower. Let me walk you through everything, step by step, and show you exactly how these tools work and why they matter so much for your workflow. Let's start with my absolute favorite update, the grain adjustment layer. Before this, adding grain to your photos was honestly a pain. You had to jump into camera, raw, or worse, create multiple gray layers, apply noise, and then mess around with blend modes until something looked decent. It was time-consuming and frustrating. But now, all of that is gone. You literally just click on the adjustment layer icon and choose grain. That's it. No more complicated workarounds. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you're doing compositing work, or you've blurred a background to separate your subject, sometimes the image just feels off when you zoom in. The different elements don't quite blend together naturally. That's where grain becomes magical. Just a small amount of grain can pull an entire composition together and make it feel cohesive and believable. When you click on the grain adjustment layer symbol, you'll see the properties panel open up with everything you need. There are 3 simple sliders. The amount controls how much grain you're adding overall. Size controls how big each grain particle appears. The roughness determines the texture quality of the grain itself. It's incredibly intuitive, and you can see the changes happening in real time as you adjust. Now here's something important to understand about how this works compared to camera raw. When you use the grain adjustment layer, the underlying image, sharpness stays completely intact. You can crank the grain amount up to 78 and the size to 70, and your image won't blur at all. Turn the layer on and off, and you'll see the sharpness remains identical. That's a huge advantage when you want to preserve detail while adding texture. However, Camera Raw still has one interesting edge in certain situations. If you create a merged layer of your image and then go into the Camera Raw filter and add grain from the effects section, something different happens. As you increase the grain amount and size, the image actually blurs slightly. It's giving you that authentic film grain look where the grain itself softens the image just a touch. For some creative projects, especially when you're going for that vintage or analog photography feel, this can actually look better because it's more true to how real film grain behaves. So the choice becomes clear. If you want crisp sharpness with added texture, use the grain adjustment layer. If you want that authentic filmic quality with a slight softness, Camera Raw is still your friend. Both have their place depending on what you're trying to achieve. You can also use grain creatively on design elements to make them feel more premium and polished. Imagine you're designing a thumbnail or a graphic with logos and icons. Adding just a subtle amount of grain to those design elements can elevate the entire look and make it feel more sophisticated and professional. To do this, you add a grain adjustment layer the same way, but here's the trick. The grain will apply to everything below it in your layer stack, which you probably don't want. You only want it affecting those specific icons or design elements. The solution is beautifully simple. Just click the clipping mask button in the layers panel, and boom. The grain is now only affecting the layer directly underneath it. This gives you complete control and lets you build up texture exactly where you want it, without affecting the rest of your design. Moving on to the second major update, we now have clarity and dehaze as adjustment layers right in the main Photoshop interface. Before this, you had to jump into Camera Raw every single time you wanted to use these powerful tools. Now they're just a click away, and this is absolutely fantastic for adding punch and dimension to your photos. Click the adjustment layer icon, choose clarity and dehaze, and watch what happens. The Dehaze slider removes that misty, flat look and brings out detail and contrast that makes your image pop off the screen. The clarity slider adds mid-tone contrast that gives your photo an incredible sense of depth and sharpness. The combination is stunning, and because it's an adjustment layer, You get all the flexibility that makes Photoshop so powerful. One of the biggest strengths of using these as adjustment layers is that you can combine them with masks to target specific areas of your image. Let me show you what I mean. Say you want to apply dehaze only to the top portion of your photo, like the sky and background, but leave the foreground natural. You select the gradient tool, click on the mask of your adjustment layer, and drag a gradient from white to black. Now the effect only applies where you want it, fading smoothly into the unaffected areas. This kind of selective control is what separates average editing from professional level work. But it gets even better. You can stack multiple clarity and dehaze layers for completely different creative effects in different parts of the same image. Here's a technique that's absolutely brilliant. Add a clarity and dehaze layer and crank up the clarity on your subject's face to bring out detail and make it really stand out. But you only want it on the face, so you select the mask. Press Ctrl or Command-I to invert it to black, and then paint with a white brush only over the facial features you want to enhance. Now the rest of the image is unaffected, and the face has that beautiful sharp clarity. Then you add a second clarity and dehaze layer, but this time you do the opposite. You hold Alt or Option and drag the mask from the previous layer to duplicate it. Then invert that mask so it affects everywhere except the face. On this layer, you decrease the dehaze slider instead of increasing it, which adds a beautiful hazy, dreamy atmosphere around your subject while keeping them sharp and clear. This combination creates incredible depth and separation that looks absolutely professional. Now let's talk about what might be the most exciting update of all, the brand new Generative Fill and Expand model from Adobe Firefly. This is Adobe's own AI model, and the difference from the previous version is honestly night and day. The old model could produce results at about 1000 pixels resolution. This new model can go up to 2000 pixels, and the quality improvement is massive. It handles animals, people, and fine details significantly better than before. To use it, make a selection where you want to generate something. Open the contextual taskbar by right-clicking outside the canvas if you don't see it. Click Generate Fill. Type your prompt. Then click the Models menu and choose Firefly Fill and Expand. When you click Generate, you'll immediately notice how much cleaner and more realistic the results look compared to the older models. The resolution difference becomes obvious when you start zooming in. Even at 100% zoom, the generated content holds up remarkably well with clean details and sharp edges. Compare this to the older Firefly Image 3 model, and the difference is shocking. The older model produces results that look artificial and blurry, even at normal viewing distances. Sometimes the results are downright bizarre, with weird distortions and proportions that look like they came from a cartoon rather than reality. The new model maintains photorealistic quality that blends seamlessly with your original image. This improvement extends to Generative Expand as well, which is incredible news if you've ever needed to change the aspect ratio of a photo or add more space around your subject. Here's how powerful Generative Expand has become with this new model. Press C to activate the crop tool. Choose a square aspect ratio from the top bar and expand your canvas beyond the original image boundaries. From the Fill section, select Generative Expand. Make sure you've chosen the Firefly Fill and Expand model and click Generate. What happens next is genuinely impressive. You get 3 different variations, and even when you zoom in to 100%, it's extremely difficult to tell where the original photo ends and the generated content begins. The lighting matches perfectly, the textures blend seamlessly, and the overall quality is so high that you'd need to zoom in to 300 or 400% before you can definitively identify the generated areas. Compare this to the older model, and at just 50% zoom, you can already clearly see the difference in quality and sharpness. The new Generative Fill also introduces reference images, which opens up entirely new creative possibilities. Let's say you want to place a specific object into your scene without destroying the existing background. You make a rough selection. Where you want the object to appear, click Generate Fill, then click the Reference Image option. Choose your image, and Photoshop gives you two intelligent options. Whole image uses everything, including the background from your reference, while object automatically cuts out just the main subject. Then you choose whether you want to swap what's in that area or place the object on top of the existing content. When you choose place, the magic happens. Photoshop integrates your reference object into the scene while preserving the original background completely intact, creating appropriate shadows and reflections automatically. The accuracy and attention to detail is remarkable. The leaves stay in place, the table isn't disturbed, and the new object looks like it was photographed in that exact lighting and environment. Photoshop actually adjusts the color and lighting of the reference image to match your scene, which is something that would have taken significant manual work before. You can also use this to swap existing objects. If someone's wearing a necklace and you want to replace it with a different one, you select the original necklace, use Generate. Fill with a reference image of the new necklace, choose Swap instead of Place, and let the AI work its magic. The results are surprisingly good, giving you 3 variations to choose from. And while there might be occasional imperfections, the overall quality is impressive enough that you can easily refine any small issues. Finally, we have a significant update to the Remove tool, and this one is genuinely game-changing. The Remove tool now works dramatically better than before, using improved AI to intelligently remove objects from your photos. At the top of the tool options, make sure Auto is checked so Photoshop can decide when to use AI assistance. Here's something important. The Remove tool doesn't consume any generative credits right now, which is fantastic because you can use it as much as you need without worrying about running out of credits. Even the most difficult removals, like taking a person out of a scene, with complex backgrounds, nets, and overlapping elements, now produce results that are honestly stunning. When you loop around an object and release, the AI goes to work, and the results are almost unbelievable. Zoom in and try to find where the person used to be. It's incredibly difficult to spot any evidence of manipulation. The edges are clean, the background reconstruction is seamless, and even fine details like textures and patterns continue naturally through the removed area. Compare this to the previous version from earlier Photoshop releases, and while that version was already impressive, you can see smudges and obvious signs of AI generation when you zoom in closely. The new model has virtually eliminated these artifacts. The edges are smoother, the textures are more consistent, and the overall result is so clean that it would be extremely hard for anyone to know. The image was edited at all. One important workflow tip: always use the Remove tool on a new layer. Rather than directly on your background, either create a new layer manually or click the Create New Layer option at the top of the Remove tool settings. This way, every removal creates a separate layer that contains only the changed pixels. This gives you non-destructive editing capabilities where you can go back and adjust or remove individual edits without affecting your original image. It's a simple habit that will save you countless headaches and give you the flexibility to experiment fearlessly. These 5 updates represent a massive leap forward in Photoshop's capabilities, making professional-level editing more accessible and efficient than ever before. The grain adjustment layer saves time on every composite. Clarity and Dehaze as adjustment layers give you instant creative control. The new generative AI model produces results that are sharper and more realistic than we've ever seen. And the improved Remove tool makes the impossible routine. Each of these tools individually would be worth celebrating, but together, they transform how you can approach your creative work in Photoshop.